Earlier today, Xbox held their big showcase of 2023, and it was actually pretty good. It was actually probably the best showcase slash direct we will see this entire E3 season. Hard to say anything bad about it. I guess there were a lot of instances where it's like you can feel them crossing their arms and like putting up a finger and saying, this is technically gameplay. And you're like, okay, I guess I meant to say raw gameplay. But then this thing ended with 50 minutes of Starfield. You used to dream about something like this during the days of E3. So how could anyone complain, really? Well, it is my job. Here are my 3 hot takeaways. Hot takeaway 1. Xbox keeps racking up Japan points. This was the weirdest moment from last year's Xbox showcase.
Japan is the home to some of the most talented and well-known game creators anywhere in the world.
That was from the Japan block, where they showed Wo Long, some Persona re-releases, and Hideo Kojima announced that he will someday make an Xbox game. This year they communicated that same emphasis, but without explicitly having to come out and say,
we know how important it is to our fans to continue to bring more Japanese franchises to Xbox.
So Persona 3 Reload, Persona 5 Tactica, Metaphor ReFantazio, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess all spaced out throughout the show. Never 2 Japanese games back to back. They were dispersed. And what I think is funny about these is that there is an apparent media embargo. For 48 hours, none of these publishers are allowed to tell anyone any other particular platforms these games might appear on. Basically, it's 2 days of media exclusivity. Better than actual exclusivity, but still unnecessary probably. And it's triple funny because when PlayStation had their not good showcase a few weeks ago, Xbox tweeted out, hey, a lot of those games they just announced, they're coming to Xbox. Looking nice. And here, now, in turn, they have prevented PlayStation and Steam from doing the same thing to them. Look, Xbox will never win, but it's nice to see them still playing the game. Hot takeaway 2, the stage segments make me feel crazy. Look at this thing. This is a well-constructed stage. They spent money on this. And a total of 3 presenters spoke on this stage for less than 6 minutes of talking time.
You are the heart and soul of Xbox.
Excuse you. No, I am not. But really, how different is a moment like this?
E3! Yeah. All right.
From a moment like this?
Hi. I'm very excited to be returning as Johnny Silverhand.
Also, I have this adverse reaction to the very loud inspirational music. It doesn't hit me like I think they want it to hit. And I get why it's there, right? They want to make this feel like a big event. And there's no audience there clapping and roaring, right? So you need to fill it in. You need to, firstly, you need to spend a lot of money on your stage. You need loud inspirational music. And you need to talk like this.
We know you've wanted more storage with Xbox Series S, and I'm excited to share we have some news there as well.
By the way, that news that he's talking about is that there's a Series S coming soon that will have 1 terabyte of storage for $350, which is a neat announcement, I guess. But the framing was, we hear you. We hear that you want more storage in your Series S, so now you can go buy a new one. And the thing is, the crazy thing is, you feel like he's actually making a momentous announcement because they're playing music that's like the president's speech in Independence Day.
No matter if you choose to play on Xbox, PC, or over the cloud, all gamers are welcome here at Xbox.
And finally, hot takeaway 3, Starfield looks good, but actually, you know what? Never mind. It looks good. So imagine that your 6-year-old niece or nephew hands you this drawing. and they say, look what I made. And it's a pretty good octopus. Do we mention that the octopus only has 5 tentacles? No. No, of course not. They're 6 years old. What do you expect? And so that is how I feel about the praise for Starfield. I see it as a very good octopus drawing that has 5 tentacles. And the thing is, it was set up like this.
Followed by a deep dive into one of the most important RPGs ever made.
They're going to call this one of the most important RPGs ever made before it comes out. And here's the thing, RPGs, role-playing games, what's one of the most important things? What is the most important thing for a role-playing game? I would say characters and story. And what do the characters look like in this game?
Terror by Vectera! Is it really, really you?
No, not this. And you're saying, okay, come on now, Kyle, that's not fair. Obviously, that's a side character most players would never even interact with. Obviously, the important story scenes will have stronger facial animation. This is the main quest right here. This is the main cast. Here are your rubbery puppets.
You know what I hate about these pirates? Completely resistant to my otherwise irresistible charm.
Look at this little smile they add at the end of that line.
Completely resistant to my otherwise irresistible charm.
I'm really glad the dialogue explains that he's charming, because that would have been hard to pick up on otherwise. What I think it is I feel like there's this thing where everybody has very straight posture. They've got like a steel spine, and they refuse to move any part other than their bobbling head. Did you know you could romance the dolls?
Eventually, some friendships might blossom into romance.
I don't know that I've ever really loved anyone except you.
Did you feel that? It's one of the most important RPGs ever made. Here's the thing. Why would you even talk about that? Why would you even make a video where you point those things out? Because of this and this and this? Because there's so much here, it's silly to criticize how poorly realized these characters are.
We use that exact system to create all of the characters and NPCs you're going to see in the game. So any character you see almost always is a character you could make yourself.
Yeah, no shit. It doesn't come as a surprise that every single one of these indistinct characters that we're looking at throughout this entire video was just slid together in your own character creator. They're saying we scanned in all these faces and then we just kind of jumbled them together so they don't resemble humans anymore.
Oh my god!
Do the faces need to be Hellblade quality? No, that would be impractical. I get that. Do the faces need to be Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth quality? Yeah, they should aim for that. This looks great. In fact, if I may be so bold, this looks like it might be one of the most important RPGs ever made. How could I, though? How could you compare those games? Starfield has 1,000 planets. You can build a mech, for heaven's sake. It's a really good octopus, Kyle. What do you expect? But also, I realize this is not a Starfield exclusive issue. Take Tears of the Kingdom, for instance. Best reviewed game of the year. Probably will remain so, and yet it's missing a few tentacles, if you get what I mean. The game has so many weird, old-fashioned crust still stuck in it. It's got legitimate technical performance issues. And really, honestly, that game is built upon stuff lifted from a game that was released 6 years ago. And still, despite all of that, it's one of the best video games I've ever played in my life. Really. So I get it. I get that there are different standards for how many tentacles an octopus drawing needs. After today, there's a lot of people who are very excited about Starfield. And yeah, you can bet when that game comes out, they're going to put it up on their fridge like it truly is one of the most important RPGs of all time. And you know what? I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. I'm going to think it, yes, absolutely, but I won't say it out loud. It's not my place. And that's it for my hot takeaways. Delayed Input will be back next week, looking at June 23rd. Until then, thanks for watching. It's time for top 2, bottom 2, bonus 2. Top 2. Jusant? This is going to sound sarcastic because so many people hate them, but truly, I love climbing sections in video games. And this appears to be a video game that is all climbing section. And I'm in. Also, Cities Skylines 2. For a showcase that was so generally afraid to show a single HUD, I really liked that Cities Skylines 2, which is, it's a game that's inherently dorky and boring, was actually very willing to show you what it will look like to play it. Good job. Bottom 2, Clockwork Revolution. All right, let's ignore the fact that this looks a lot like BioShock Infinite. It doesn't need to be repeated by another YouTuber. Maybe the developers were children when BioShock Infinite came out. I don't know. It's not what bothers me. Here's what bothers me is that it's a time travel game where the choices you make can impact the future. How do we demonstrate that?
Oh no. What did I do?
Oh no. Things are bad now? The flags are different? What a hook. And, obviously, Overwatch 2. After explaining not too long ago that the single-player campaign progression would never be coming to Overwatch 2, we're now watching this long trailer selling story missions. I don't get why this was in this showcase, but obviously part of me is thinking that maybe the reasoning is like, we might get Activision. They might let us buy Activision, and if they do, don't you think we should gas up Overwatch a little bit? They're about to be part of our family. Bonus 2, the abundance of slates. Nobody does it better than Xbox.
World premiere.
And I feel like they're repeated so often that it's impossible to keep track of which was which. At the end of the show, you're basically thinking every game is presented by Xbox Studios and it's a world premiere and it's gonna be day 1 on Game Pass. And that's probably the intent, right? If you're not taking notes, you're gonna assume all this shit is Game Pass. And finally, Hellblade 2's boring trailer. Hellblade 2 had a funny moment before its boring trailer. Melina Juergens comes out and she says, previously we showed you an exciting trailer that featured raw gameplay. And they had showed a clip of that trailer. And then she essentially says, now here's a boring trailer. And I like that explanation. I like that contextualization. You already had a good trailer. We're trying something new here. A boring trailer. The puddle is glass. See you next year.